I live in a typical suburban neighborhood just outside Austin, Texas, a cookie-cutter, HOA-managed community with tidy lawns, cul-de-sacs, and enough passive-aggressive tension to fuel a sitcom. My backyard borders a small wooded area, and when I moved in, there was a natural dip in the land that collected rainwater. I decided to transform it into a proper pond. I went all in, dug it deeper with a rented backhoe, lined it with stone and a rubber membrane, installed a solar-powered filtration system, and stocked it with koi, minnows, and lily pads. It became my sanctuary. My daughter named one of the koi Nemo, after the fish from Finding Nemo. Every morning, I'd sip coffee by the pond, watching birds, frogs, and the occasional deer. It wasn't just decor, it was a thriving ecosystem. I even got written permission from the city and consulted a certified pond expert. I never imagined the HOA would care, but they did. 3 years after building the pond, I received a letter from the HOA's Architectural Review Committee. They claimed my pond was a safety hazard and violated community standards for unapproved water features. No prior complaints, no neighbor disputes, just a form letter with a 15-day compliance deadline. I responded politely, including a copy of the city approval, photos of the fence enclosing the pond, and a screenshot of the HOA guidelines, which never mentioned the word pond. A week later, a second letter arrived. Remove the pond by month's end, or we'll initiate abatement procedures. I had no idea what that meant, but I was about to find out. It was a Thursday. I just finished a grueling night shift. I am an ER nurse and got home around 8:30 a.m. As I pulled into the driveway, I noticed tire tracks across my lawn. Then I heard it, the gurgling sound of rushing water. I ran to the backyard and found 2 contractors knee-deep in my pond, pumping the water out into the woods behind my lot. No warning, no consent, just draining it. I shouted, they froze. I demanded to know who sent them. They mumbled, HOA work order, and handed me a clipboard. I told them to stop immediately. They refused. So, I called the police. Here's where it gets interesting. When the officers arrived, I expected a standard property dispute. Instead, they sided with me. The HOA hadn't obtained a city permit to drain the pond, and the contractors didn't have a license for handling gray water runoff. The officers shut it down, but it was too late. My pond was half empty, the koi flopping, Nemo belly up. I stood there, fists clenched, heart pounding. Something snapped. I was done being polite. That day, I hired a Layera real estate specialist with a track record of winning HOA disputes. I showed her the letters, photos, and contract violations. Her eyes lit up. Unauthorized entry, destruction of private property, environmental hazard. You might even have a criminal trespass case. We filed a cease and desist the next morning and sent a formal notice of intent to sue the HOA for damages, environmental destruction, unauthorized access, emotional distress, and loss of aquatic life. Yes, that's a real claim. But I wasn't done. I filed a complaint with the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality. Draining a pond into a public watershed without filtering is illegal. The runoff carried silt, nitrates, and fish waste into the stormwater channel behind my lot, potentially contaminating drinking water. I also contacted the city building department and learned the HOA's contractor wasn't licensed for drainage work. Within 2 weeks, the contractor and HOA were under investigation, and fines started piling up. Then the local news caught wind. On a rainy Tuesday, an NBC Austin crew showed up and filmed a segment titled Pond Plunder. Local HOA goes too far. I provided emails, letters, and video clips. The story aired that night, and the neighborhood went wild. The HOA's Facebook group exploded. Turns out, I wasn't the only one they'd bullied. Within a week, a petition to remove the HOA board president gained traction. It needed 60 signatures. It got 140. At the next HOA meeting, which I attended, we voted. The president, treasurer, and architectural chair were ousted publicly, loudly, permanently. After months of pressure, the HOA settled, offering a 5-figure sum and a public apology. What did I do with the money? I rebuilt the pond bigger, deeper, better. I added a solar-powered aeration system, planted native trees, installed a rock waterfall, and set up a 4K wildlife cam to stream online. I named the biggest koi Justice. One last thing. 3 months after the scandal, the former HOA president tried to sell his house. The buyer backed out after their agent found the NBC story linking the property to the HOA fiasco. Poetic justice. I didn't want a war. I just wanted peace on my own property. But when someone destroys that peace unprovoked, you fight back with facts, law, patience, and sometimes a coy. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, hit that like button, subscribe, and tell me, what would you have done if the HOA drained your pond?